very good food too, because they stocked up in you know, Canada, States or whatever. But before we got there, I started learning bloody lessons. I really did. But before we sailed, we sort of hung over the dock rail, you see, and you had to go ashore when you were in the docks to the lavatories. And we had these lascars from Ceylon, you know, these guys that that was where I saw hell too, used to shovel the coal into the boilers and whatnot. And these lascars were all filing ashore, and all carrying a little pannikin of water, you know, and a piece of rag. And we had this guy Sam, he used to sell encyclopedias, and he'd got raked back to sea, and he was sort of hanging over the rail with me, and I just say, you know, why did he carry that water? Boy, this Sam was an encyclopedia. You know, I told me to wash the bums when they'd been to the lavatory. Why did he do that? It's hygiene, you know. Yeah, you know, in all my life, till I was 15 almost, none of my school teachers, none of the priests, not mum or dad or me aunt or uncles or my granny or granddad, nobody had ever told me, you know, you've got to wash your bum, you know, you've only got a bloody little cottage there with one cold water tap, and if you don't, you know, you've got to wash your foreskin and all that, because this guy told me all about this, you know, and how about hygiene. Half an hour later, I knew all about the germ theory. I knew all about being hygienic. I knew why, and you know, just through asking this guy why did the guy scatter the water. Nobody had ever told me them things. I'm not kidding. The division, she'd stocked up in a place called Montevideo. That's in South America. And there was all these books, from, you know, book sailors by. And they were scattered about the officers' cabins, the crew's quarters, you know, anywhere, you know. For every variation on the sexual act ever known to man in all civilizations, these guys printed a book on it, you know. You know, woman with donkey, donkey with man, man with duck, you know, the whole, God almighty, every possible variation. Well, you know, before I was, a month older, before I'd finished that voyage, I used to listen to the sailors. You know, the guys would come on the ship, and these guys can't pull a football or anything that normal guys do ashore, because, you know, you radio silence and never heard of the team. So what did they talk about? Talked about, you know, what they did with the wives or sweethearts or whatever, you know, what they did in the, you know. Before that bloody voyage was over, I knew the ins and outs of every roadhouse from Salford, Liverpool, Montevideo, Harlem, wherever. And I'd listen to these guys, and I'd read all these books. I knew more in theory about sex than my parents, my teachers, my grandparents, whoever, all put together, I'd ever known, I'd ever would know, you know. I really learned. That's all before we got to the other side of the Atlantic. And then when we got there, we went up the St. Lawrence. That's a mighty river. No. Shit, I was so happy, you know. And goes up to St. Lawrence to Quebec was the first port of call. God, and I come from Manchester in wartime. You know, Manchester, bleeding place is 3 parts coal dust and the rest is pollution, you know, and this little cottage we had, you know, one cold water tap, 2 up, 2 down, and oh God almighty, you no idea. And apart from that, in wartime, no street lights, no bloody traffic lights, no shops open, coupons for everything, you know, and everything promptly closed down at 8 o'clock, you know, except if you were on war work, maybe you were still functioning then. But all the dirty grey slaty roofs and the old bloody tram tracks and dirty old diesel buses chugging up and down, and all totally weary people. You've never seen anything like it, you know, the women all black old coats and headscarves and head down against the sleet and the filth, and put your hand out the window, see if it was raining, it was covered with coal dust and all this sort of thing. But there we went. And I've seen this Quebec. Shit. There's this beautiful golden globe just across the river called the Hotel Frontenac, and it's sort of on the front of the city of Quebec. This is where we were heading. We got ashore, got the old bus to the edge of the town. Jesus, you know, it's beautiful boulevards with great green grass verges and exotic trees in the middle of them, and beautifully shaped street lamps all glaring down, and bloody shops and shops and shops as far as you could see, all full of clothing, and beautiful restaurants, and the people, ye gods, you know, there's these guys walking down these boulevards and these beautiful suits made of material you never seen in my life, and the women here, beautiful frocks and dresses and suits, and every time I passed, you know, Chanel or something beautiful, Christ almighty, you know, it wasn't happening. And you know, we were sailors, we pocket full of money and everything, and went in the best of the restaurants, you know, and guys speaking French and everything like that, and dance halls open, you know, the whole lot wide open. The shops with the stuff, the food was filling the windows. It was like a bloody wonderland, you know, it's like having a fucking paradise. And that was only the first foot in paradise. Went from there to Quebec. No, Quebec to Montreal, yeah. St. Catherine Street. And that was the same, you know, and everything was going for us. All of a sudden, from this dirty, grotty, god-awful fifth world city, to, you know, it's just like being in fairyland or paradise. Plenty of money, everything in the shops, beautiful streets, very clean town, everything like that. There was another paradise to come, a better paradise. So I went back from the ship. I never remember a single second while I was at sea that I wasn't deliriously happy. And yeah, we loaded up at Montreal. We unloaded gold there. Bloody hell, all these FBI guys and guards and all sorts of guys from America come watching all get counted ashore, great crates of gold, you know, paying some debt or whatever. We sailed from there, and yeah, went back to Manchester. And as the ships used to go back, you see, and they got the engines overhauled and things like that, and they went in dry dock, and they got accommodation torn out, better accommodation put in, and one thing and another. So you signed off, sort of thing, and you signed off on what we call a pool in Smith Street. I signed on the pool, and I'd been a pretty bloody good cabin boy, you know. I was that terrified of being not going to sea again. I'd been extra good. I liked my work, I enjoyed every minute of it, and I'd been pretty good. I was nowhere near 16 then, and they made me an assistant steward, you know, great big promotion, you know. Made me engineer steward. I had about 12 or 14 engineer officers, and own little mess room, and my own little pantry, and served the meals up, you know, squared the bunks up, and cleaned them all. I had a little assistant to clean the brass by then. I forget the name of her, but I think it was the Eastern Foam. But anyway, we went to Paradise that time. This ship was, I'll tell you, man, really, I'd done my sexual thing, you know, read all these books, listened to all these sailors on this ship. But the Eastern Foam, this was what you call a political ship, you see. Occasionally, you know, a ship would get a guy aboard who was a political man. He might have been a communist or a Labour man or whatever, you know, but there's 60-odd guys aboard a ship. You know, you can't walk away from these guys because there's no wet water, you know, about 1,000 miles of bloody water on every side. So I'll come back to that because it was very interesting, you know. So, but we went to New York this time. Well, New York was every kid, you know, every kid that ever signed aboard a ship, you know, wanted to go to New York. Everybody in England wanted to go to New York, or at least America. And there we were. I'll never forget that as long as I live. We're sailing into this beautiful harbour It's a nice day too. There's this huge green statue on the right, Statue of Liberty. And we were going to dock at Wall Street next to the Queen Mary where she docked. And I looked at this harbour and I looked at these buildings, these towering buildings, these skyscrapers. Oh my God. Never, it's like something off the page, the front page, you know, of science fiction of the future. All the little puffs of smoke above them from the air conditioners, puffs of steam. All blazing glass in the sun. Jeez, it was so good. I remember distinctly sailing through that harbour towards it. And, you know, I still had the hangover from this little Catholic school that I went to, and I remember saying, "Look, God, don't ever shift this. I don't ever want to do anything else as long as I live. I just want to be sailing just here. Don't shift it." It's sort of like the feeling you get maybe you just got married and you have orgasm and you know you say shit. You know, I don't ever want to shift from this. I want it to last forever and ever. That's just how I felt. I wanted that sailing to the harbour to last forever and ever. Anyway, it got better. You know, two feet in paradise then. We tied up at the end of Wall Street. You got what you call a sub, you see, off your wages. $50 or whatever. Pocket full of dollars. Bought a suit in Montreal. Well dressed. You got to keep remembering Manchester with its blinking slate grey roofs and its bloody old shitty houses out the back and all. It's poisonous air and it's cut. And now this was Wall Street I was walking down. And this led me onto Broadway. I think the States has changed now, but oh my God, it was just evening when I got onto Broadway. Can you say, you know, these shops, and you know, this wartime. These guys are loaded with beautiful white refrigerators and stove tops and alarm clocks and racks of clothes and no coupons and huge windows and, you know, live turtles sold here and all these massive crowds all beautifully dressed and smelling wonderful, and God, you could go in any shop and buy anything you like, plenty of money, and there you were with your natty suit and a little badge. And I never walked on the bloody pavements. My feet were always, you know, a few inches in the air. Yeah, it was bloody lovely. I walked up and down Broadway all bloody night. I loved every second of it. And then I got the subway trains. Found the subway. I've never seen a subway in my life, you know. Nearest Manchester had to a subway was the bloody coal mines going under it. I got on these subways, 10 cents for the token, and once you were on it, you could go here and there and there and here. You know, you stay on the bloody thing all night, and I did. You know, I loved it. There was all these wonderful, beautifully dressed people, all smelling nice, and all on the subway, and I rode up and down that bloody New York all night. Got back to my cabin, you know, a bit bog-eyed, but still, you know, did my job well in the morning. And in my cabin I'd found a card, a little business card, place in Hoboken. I've no idea where Hoboken was, but it had a little picture of a black leather bomber jacket, you know, a zip and 2 pockets. And that's it, that's what I always wanted. Yeah. Got my son set off, you know, and oh shit, the angels were looking after me all right, you know. Asked various guys, you know, where's Hoboken, and you get the train here and you get the train, and finished up walking through Harlem, you know, some of the nicest people I'd ever met. Where's Hoboken? Oh, this way and that way, and finally got to it. No, I don't know, I got to Hoboken, to this leather jacket shop, and explained what I wanted, you know. I've seen it on a card, and this is it. Oh, they were lovely people. She shouted out for the son, you know. The son came, you know, and explained what kind of jacket he wanted and everything like that, and got fixed up with his jacket, about $25 I think it was, I'm not sure, but yeah, a little badge went on it, and oh, it was great. and the son was about my age, he was about 15, and we got talking about where I came from and what the war was like, and so on. It ended up, this guy says, oh well, I'll show you a quicker way back to the docks. On the way we collected two of his mates and a girlfriend and headed towards the docks, and we went through, I'll never forget it in my life, we went through this district. I couldn't believe it. I'd never seen bananas, oranges or anything for donkey's years, and that's since the war started. There's all these shops with all the stuff out on the pavement, great mounds of oranges and bananas. It was the Italian district. Oh, I've never seen anything like it. And oh yeah, we finally got invited by another kid to the swimming pool. I'd never seen an open air swimming pool in my life. I was fascinated. There's these great floodlights and the diving pools and diving boards, the whole lot. So there's four of us by then. We went in there, and got introduced to some more kids about my own age. We had a bloody terrific night. And I got the finale of that. I go and have a soda. And these guys took me in this bloody bar. I'd never seen anything, never thought anything could exist like it. It's a huge, deep, beautifully coloured, brightly lit place with a marvellous counter down one side. And all these little booths, all in bright colours down the left hand. Right at the back, there's this huge machine, a Wurlitzer, all coloured lights streaming over the top of it, and all these records in. You put a quarter in and press the button. God almighty, I've never seen anything like it in my life. And I had a few ice creams or whatever there, but I'm still walking on air, feet untouched the ground, And we go out of there, and sure enough, we eventually, after quite a while, got back to the docks and rejoined my ship, and sure, I'd been very happy ashore. I was very happy aboard too, I was happy all the time. And shit. What's he bringing up stuff I thought I forgot? Yeah, well, I left New York, and the time was wearing on then, I'd got one trip under my belt, and I'm hanging over the bloody rail, everybody's creeping about the sea like, dodging submarines here and there. Well, I'm hanging over the bloody rail. Shit, I haven't seen a submarine yet. The war will be over before it all happens. That's when's all the action going to start? No submarines. So we got back, and every moment was a joy. I think we went to Holyhead. No, we didn't. Liverpool. Paid off in Liverpool off that trip, and things happened then. Everybody said, tankers are the thing to be on. You used to see these tankers coming with the huge sheets over the ventilators and everything like that, and they got twice the money and stuff like that. I want to be a tanker man. I fronted up at Smith Street, and the sign, you allocated your ship there, assistant steward, engineer steward, all that. I want to be a tanker man. yeah, come and suck it, yeah. I thought that was easy. Filed out of the office, I'm on tankers, everybody, yeah. So I got this tanker, the Vocals, Saucony Vacuum Oil Company of New Jersey. And the name was shortened to Vocal. She was in, I think she was in number 8 dock, and goes aboard. Oh my God, there's a smell, crude oil. Oh. You could cut it. You could really cut lumps of it, and put them in your pocket. And the mate says, "Oh, you've been out sailing, and used to this in 3 days or 3 weeks or whatever." So that was all right. Joined this tanker, and oh yeah, we went to a place called Mobile in Houston. It was only a small oil port now. That's where we were headed, and things are going fine. By now, by the time I joined that tanker, I'd become what you call a DEMS gunner, defensively equipped merchant ships, and while I was ashore, they grabbed me and want to be a DEMS gunner. Yeah, I want to be anything, you know, as long as it was sea. Yeah. So, get sent up to this place near Southport, just forget Ainsdale. Yeah, Ainsdale firing range. And we had 3 days in the dockside sheds. And they taught us these Hotchkiss, Oerlikon, and Lewis machine guns, you see. And 37 things could go wrong with the Lewis, and you had to take it apart and put it together and stuff like that. And then sent us down to Ainsdale and got these guns mounted on tripods, and bang, 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 plane come over, you know, towing a big target, and supposed to fire at the target. Everybody fired at the plane, but it didn't matter, it was a bit out of range anyway. So, then we had to go on this 4.7. Oh, my job was funny on that. My job was a bloody big mop, you know, and a big round mop on the end of a huge pole, you see. My job was when the guys got cracking on this 4.7, one guy jump up and open a breach, and another ram up shell in, and another guy put the charge in and close the breach, and this guy do all the wheel stuff with the wheels and sights and get it on target on fire, and the other guy say shoot, and the bullets bang, off she went. My job come in then, he said, dip me bloody big pole in this bucket of water, it's supposed to be tied to the rails, and they'd open the breach, come shot this miles and miles and bloody great clouds of burning paper, you know, and well, it was all safety, there was all charges of powder everywhere, you know, when the stuff was landing. My job was to ram this pole up the bloody barrel and swill it all out, make sure there's no fire in there, and drag my pole hand over hand out like, you know, the other guy had put the shell on, and it all happened again, you see. So I was bloody wrapped in this business. Oh man, I loved it. Then they give me this favourite of mine, a thing called a Hotchkiss. It's a double barrel machine gun, and you have a big strap go around you, sit on like a bicycle saddle and rat-a-tat off with this bloody gun, and sudden traces going everywhere. Oh, they look beautiful, you know. So I passed all this, and sure enough, I was a DEMS gunner. And we had this trip to Houston, and I came across the first little cloud on that ship. You know, I thought ships were impregnable. You know, nothing could happen to them. Nothing could happen to anybody while they were on a ship. Well, we come across this place just off America, Key something, and it must have been a shallow bottom, you know, and some submarine pack must have caught these guys. Shit, I'll never forget it. Oh, it looked like hundreds, but common sense tells me it could only have been scores, but there's scores and scores of these ships. Some of the bows stuck up out of the water, you know, they're probably resting on the bottom. And a lot of the stern, you know, with the propellers and rudder. And it looked obscene to me, you know, seeing a ship stuck up with its propeller and rudder there. You know, it's like coming up a middle-aged lady naked standing on her head on a spectre, you know, very obscene. So I thought, shit, you know, they can sing. And God knows what happened to them. Mostly Liberty boats, American ships. But anyway, we sailed on. And it was a bit sobering. I wasn't too keen on seeing submarines after that, but we got to Houston and went ashore, and as usual, it was just an oil port, you know, there was nothing great to see, but everything was exciting every day anyway. And oh yeah, we came back and I was pretty qualified now, you know, I was this DEMS gunner, I was engineer, steward, all sorts of things, and it came about that for some reason or other, it came about that they signed me aboard a Norwegian ship. You know, they asked me would I sign aboard a Norwegian, Greek, Polish, it was all the same to me, it was the ship, you know. So yeah. Where I went. This turned out marvellous, although I hadn't been knocking for it. The fact was you got no income tax fee from Norwegians. and we were getting about £8 a month danger money and about £3 a week. This is when the onshore wage was £3 a week at the most, you know, and I was getting good keep and everything. It turned out marvellous, but you had no country, you see. Tough luck if anything happened to you. You had no passport and anything, except your discharge book. So anyway, I forget the name of her, but the Vauquhall did. It wasn't the Vauquhall, it was another tanker. I've seen the first bit of action. That's right. We'd come out empty. We'd unloaded. I think it was in New York, and then loaded ballast. That means you just put a bit of water in the tanks, you know, and the ship rides pretty high. And these tankers, they had a flying bridge, you know, going. They were only little boats towards the stuff that's nowadays about 3,000–4,000 ton, whatever. They had a flying bridge going all across the tanks, and I was stood right aft near the galley, leaning against the rail for some reason or other. That's right, we were out in New York all right, because I bought a suit there, and nothing much happening near Newfoundland. And Newfoundland is where we had to pass, sort of thing. It was a place where it's very like Scotland, with all locks and groves carved into the cliffs, and these submarines, you know, it's a pretty good place for the subs to go in and wait. Convoy come past, or single ship, and then nip out and nip back in again. So everybody was pretty leery of this, and it was a bit of a foggy day. Anyway, just as I'm on the rail, this god-awful bang, sorry no, a hell of a bang, right aft. And the bloody stern jumped out of the water, and the mast seemed to touch, and shit, back she goes in the water. And something happened to my feet. It must have been the deck plates quivering or something, you know. Couldn't walk on my feet for days, you know, properly. It must have sort of like bastinado on the soles of your feet. Shit, that's really it. You know, there was all sorts of things happening, you know. The bloody officers were running around, bosun was coming up, and all sorts of orders shouted. Anyway, my lifeboat was on the second deck or so, you know, where you're supposed to make in case of this stuff. My job had a bloody big bung, you know. I'd like to take it in bed with me and kept it under my pillow. And my job was to put this bung in the lifeboat and tread it down, and you know, so the water doesn't come in. Shit, all these things are carefully planned out, you know. And we had these things called Carley floats, and you know, the kids used to figure out everything that was good for them. Well, these Carley floats were on sort of lines that went over the ship's rail, you see, on a sort of track. And they were a big square thing, a massive thing as big as this room maybe. And they were all lined with drums, you know, empty drums. And they were unsinkable, you see, and they had chocolate aboard and fresh water and a little tent you could put, and all these ropes dangling round the side of them you're supposed to grab. So of course, as kids' minds, we were all made up like, you know, shag the lifeboat, you know, we had on the Carley float, and this thing's supposed to go in and bang on the water, and no doubt they tested it in the Mersey or somewhere, you know, in still waters, no trouble. Yeah, it floats, and the idea is, okay, all you guys jump overboard and grab these bits of rope, and you know, Carley will never sink, no way. Yeah, so the bosun rushed out on deck, you know, and there's a little hammer, you see, hanging off one of the ropes, and he gives this wedge a big clout, and it all worked, you know. Carley went down. There's a sea running, you know, maybe 10 or 12 foot waves, you know, a big swell. There's fucking Carley. They've forgotten kinetic energy, you know. Junk! Straight through the bleeding water. I'm looking at me Carley floating. It disappears, you know. The goddamn thing was unsinkable right enough. He bobbed up and about a bleeding quarter of a mile away, you know, going for Canada for his life. Jump over and swim for no way. You know, that was a bit of bullshit I learned straight away. No way did Carley floats work. So shagged this and made for me boat after all. Well, meanwhile there was hell going on the other side. Oh, that'd be Over the starboard side, the captain's boat. Out comes the bloody captain. 2 bags, 2 bloody great ship's papers and money, whatever was important, you know. All the bloody ship's broached by now, you know, the rudder's gone, the propeller's gone, everything's gone aft, and there's no way on her, you see. Well, as soon as the ship loses way, it goes sideways onto the waves, and it's a tanker out of the water, you know, and the bleeding rail was touching there. Oh, shit, and these guys trying to lower away these boats, you know, sort of swinging on davits, you know, and you get the boats off and have bashed straight into the side, and the bloody captain there's looking, judging it, you know, throws his bags down, across the bleeding boats, a mile away by then, chunk straight into the water. That's all the good stuff gone. So I looked at this bleeding carry on, and I finally gets to my own boat, you see, and another bit of bullshit came up. They'd done away with oars, you see. The good guys had oars in the boats anyway, you know, they knew all about bullshit. And these handles, you see, you're supposed to sit there and wind this shagging handle. It turns a propeller and where you go. Shit. Well, first you had to get the boat in the water. So this bleeding boat's there, and across the davits there's a line stretch, you know, 1/2 inch hawser, and from this line there's several ropes hang down, you see, with knots on them, so that you can go hand over hand. Didn't work, mate. You know, didn't work. They got this boat halfway down. I got hold of this bleeding line and started going down. All of a sudden, you know, no boat. You know, the ship had heeled, and the lifeboat's somewhere over there, and all of a sudden starts coming back, you know. What the bloody line, I'm telling you, I'll put it out of the way. I crash against the side, and oh shit. These guys are stripping off life jackets and trying to jam them between the bloody ship's side and them. But anyway, it swung in one time. I shagged this, and got to do it. So, you know, I slid down the rope and hit the first knot line, and bloody skin was gone completely off my hands. My feet were bugging. Bang in this bloody boat. It was fractured ankle or something. So we finally gets this bloody boat away from the side, you know, and I didn't know what was going on, because the rest of the guys in my boat were Norwegians. I think the second engineer was in charge of it. So you get the fucking thing away, and but by good luck, not by good management, I'll tell you, it just happened that, you know, the swell came and carried us away far enough. I'm winding these bleeding things and nothing's happening, you know. There's a bloody great swell on, and the arse end of the boat's coming out of the water, and the prop spins a bit, and nothing when it goes back, and they started breaking down and one thing and another. This is no good, and there was levers to pull and all sorts of technology. Stuff them. We got the oars, we had 4 oars, and got the bloody oars, and I'm not kidding, no bloody skin on my hands from that rope. I never felt a shining thing, never felt my ankle, never felt my hands, never felt my feet, never felt anything, you know, no pain whatsoever. It was all gain. So one way and another, as I say, by luck, not good judgment, we got this bloody boat away. Oh, we're a couple of hours, you know, rowing away, nothing much happening, and the shaggy boat was still sat there, you know, nothing happening. Eventually there's shouts and screams and bloody whistles and all sorts of things going on, and the engineer said, "Oh, back, you know," rowed back to the boat, and the guys had come on board again, and they got these nets down the side, you know, scrambling nets, and went up these nets and on board, and sure enough she was still floating. What happened, it must have been a mine, but with the heavy swell it was probably on the crest of a wave, you see, with the taffrail of the boat, no, miles out of the water with her being light, and it just happened as luck would have it, she was probably dipping, you see, the bows, so the prop would be exposed and she'd be well out of the water, and must have just hit the propeller or the edge of the rudder, and of course it buggered the rudder, you know, the rudder was in a big V shape, and all the fins of the propeller that was rooted. There was a big dent, you know, just in the taffrail on the bottom of the bows, and she rooted up all the steering gear. There was a little room called it was called a steering galley right aft, and of course she'd blown that to the bugger, and we settled down in the boat. Oh yeah, the engineer's reports came up in it. She's taking water in the engine room right enough, but through the prop shaft, and not much else. Nothing that the pumps couldn't handle, you see, or nothing that was going to sink us immediately. Oh, we floated there, a few hours, you know. The engineers are trying to get the prop shaft that was all crooked, you know, distangled so they could get the engines working and the pumps again. And all this was going on. And all of a sudden, out in the mist over from Newfoundland or somewhere, this corvette came. You know, a corvette was a sort of emergency wartime small destroyer. You know, it carried fairly big guns, 3-inch probably. But this bloody corvette came on, and of course, you signalled. They had things called Aldis lamps, you see. There was a sort of light that you could only see if you're looking direct at it, and a Morse key that, you know, did it. So she gives us a signal. Stuffed, you know, all the Aldis lamps were gone, the machine guns were all knocked off the bloody stands, and the boats were all stolen, and nothing was working. So she kept signaling us and kept coming on. At that particular time of the war, the Germans had stuff called Q-boats, I think they were, and they'd get a tanker or, you know, any kind of merchant ship, and they'd build false funnels and sort of portholes, you know, sort of things with portholes in them, and then when they came across a merchant ship, you see, they'd drop all this gear and roll up with bloody big guns. They were really a disguised battleship, disguised, you know, small battleship. So this, it was a Yankee corvette, and this Yankee's very suspicious and very twitchy, and he suddenly sent a load more signals, and nothing happened from us. By this time, like, they had the bosun trying to wrap up bloody flags and hoist them up the halyards and stuff. Anyway, it suddenly let fly with this bleeding 3-inch, must have been a 3-inch shell. Bang! It landed about 2 ships' lengths in front of us, you see. A bloody big spout of water, and then she started turning, you know, sort of sideways onto us, and the next thing is, you know, there was going to be a blast from about 6 of these bloody 3-inch guns, so we didn't like that. Anyway, it's marvellous what fear can do for a fella. Bloody marvellous how fear makes your mind work very quickly. After that first shell, and when we saw turning side on, all of a sudden them bridge officers, you know, they got very cluey, and they all appeared, and each one had a big lantern and a flashlight on. The electrician was tearing up in town with cords and wires. Yeah, man, they had that bloody lamp fixed up in 2 or 3 minutes flat, you know, and so that was all right. We got our recognition signal off, and just as well, because just then 3 more of these corvettes came to join the first one. So anyway, I forget the next few hours. We're straightening things up, brewing coffee, and oh yeah, they sent a seagoing tug out from must have come from either Halifax in Nova Scotia or Newfoundland, and yeah, they towed us back to Newfoundland, and we anchored in the harbour there. Had to get these bumboats to go ashore and everything. But yeah, it was a bit exciting. But anyway, we were landed there in Newfoundland. I think we were there over 2 months anyway. I met a girl ashore, and met the Sailors Club. Yeah, there was a dry town, you know, they didn't allow any booze there except in the Sailors Club. We were hard bastards. We had our girls waiting outside the Sailors Club while we were inside quaffing beer on a blink. I met my first MPs there. Shit. SPs, shore police. Oh, Jesus, we're all 7 foot high, you know, bloody great white truncheon and helmets. Oh, they broke up a fight in the Seamen's Club. Jeez, I was just passing the doors, yapping, don't forget, yapping to the guy boy, and all of a sudden one hand had 2 of us, you know, out through the door. And they waded in. Holy God, I've never seen such a mess in my life. Oh, and these guys just waiting, bloody clubs swinging, and oh, dear God, you know, how many putting on? They did more damage than somebody never did, personnel-wise. So anyway, the wireless operator showed up just then and on us back to the bumboat and onto the ship. But I got fed up with this, you know. I wasn't satisfied at all. I wanted to be at sea, you know. I was missing it all, you know. It's about 19, sometime in 42. Oh, shit, the war will be over before I get back out of this. Demanded and whatever. I got put aboard another Norwegian tanker. I don't remember much about that trip except the funny end of it, because we ended up, we put into Holyhead. That's right up in, is it Holyhead? Yeah, right up in Wales. We got this bloody train. You never seen anything like it. We had these RTO train warrants, you see, to see us back to Manchester. Bloody soldiers and sailors and WAFs and ATS and airmen, civilians, the whole, you know, trains you could not get in them days. You just weren't any trains. And you were stuffed into this bloody corridor, and guys sleeping on the racks and sleeping under the seats as far as they could get. And, you know, about 40 to a carriage, and you had to make an appointment to get to the lavatory. And it stunk because you couldn't get to the lavatory, you know. And guys had to do what they had to do wherever they were. And anyway, we set off on this bleeding train, up a great long thing too, and all of a sudden, bang, 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 the bleeding sky was lit up, you know, right ahead. And what happened had knocked out this bloody bridge. And of course the train come up there, and that was it. That was the end of the railway journey. You know, it was just the early hours in the morning, and couldn't go any further than that. All these bleeding MPs suddenly appeared off the train, big bastards, and they got us all off, civilians, airmen, seamen, whatever, you know. Marches up, formed in fours and everything like that. And, right, away we go. So he goes over bloody humps and whatever, other railway tracks, and it must have been about 4 bloody mile we went. All cursing. And gets to this other train that's waiting. He got this bleeding train. Oh shit. Flatbeds, bloody cattle trucks, coaches with no corridor, nothing, you know. Proposed to put us all aboard this train. I ended up on one of these flatbeds, you know. I thought it was better off seeing where I was going. I could always jump off this. Till we started. Shit, I felt so cold in my life, you know. Everybody trying to duck down, and you just had this little bloody few planks. Anyway, we got to some big station. I forget what it was. It's some big station in Wales anyway. And all piled off like all marched into the naffy, and you know, they had stuff waiting for us there. Tucker and bloody sausage sandwiches and coffee and stuff. And we were there for about another day, and then they shunted this other train in, and sure enough we all piled aboard and eventually ended up in Manchester. That was a hell of a trip. It was the worst trip than any trip I ever did at sea. But yeah, we got to Manchester, and then I signed aboard this. You know, it's wonderful when you went ashore. You went up to the office, you see, the seaman's office, and you got these clothing coupons because you had to buy uniforms and sou'westers or whatever the sailors wanted, you know. They didn't shag it out, just give me a couple of sheets of these coupons. Well, the ration was 26 coupons a year, you know, sure. Got, you know, hundreds of the bleeding things. And, you know, girls are all screaming bloody murder for the ration coupons, so we never had any trouble in Salford with girls, you know. And, as a matter of fact, scented soap, lipstick, scent, you name it, you know, and especially, very especially, these bloody nylon things had just come out, the DuPont nylons. And, you know, a woman would give her life for a pair of these stockings, so sailors never went short, mate. They used to bring this stuff. Some guys made a trade of it, you know, they used to stock up in New York with stuff that was wanted and sell it in the pubs in Salford and Liverpool or wherever, London. But I never made a trade of it. I used to take orders, you know, from the neighbours, what was wanted, anything from mouth organs to lipstick, get it in Montreal or whatever, and used to stagger ashore and ship the tea ration, you know, 4 ounces of tea, I think it was, 2 ounces of butter, 2 ounces of bacon, and all this shit. I had one of these big canvas kit bags, you know, and the bottom half was loaded with tea and filled up with butter and sugar and, you know, everything. And used to, empty the stores before we went ashore, and there's a bloody big copper on Irish copper on number 8 gate, Salford Dock. You had to go through this little room, you see, with your kit. And he'd look for counterbrand. He'd look in your kit bag, you know, he'd pull out a pound of butter and get a little scoop and take his scoop of tea out and his bag of sugar, and that was easy and his mates, you see, that was it. You close your case, yeah, see you next trip. That was customer's exercise. So, you know, we used to throw a party when I came home. They spread the tea and the butter and the bacon, and Christ knows what I brought ashore. And delivered all my things. Couldn't buy beer in any of the pubs. Everybody was always shouting you know. So, yeah, where did we go next? Anyhow, I signed aboard another tanker. I stayed pretty well with Norwegian tankers then, and I found New York again. And this time America would come into the war by then, you see. And they had, you know, they had a nappy club in Piccadilly, in Manchester. I'll never forget it. You know, you go in there and you get a dirty weak cup of coffee or tea or whatever they call it, you know, and a bent old bacon sandwich, and that was your lot, you know. Shit. They had this club on Broadway, United Services Club. My God, you know, it's on beautifully carpeted stairs and blazing lights on each side, and beautiful tables and everything, and the finest of food, and jukeboxes and machines for dispensing Coca-Cola. You know, we've never seen anything like it in our bloody flea-bitten, rotten Manchester lives. You know, this was the next century stuff we were looking at. And there was these notices on this big board, you know, people ashore. Some rich people and some just ordinary people were all inviting sailors, you know, that were on leave to come home and have a meal, you see. And there's some lovely people we met, you know, and bloody houses we went in. Me and the galley boy answered one of these, and oh yeah, somebody had come aboard the boat, like, and the mate had pinned this list up, and these guys were inviting us ashore. So me and the galley boy went on one of these, and shit, we went in this house. There was carpets wall to wall in every bloody room. There was beautiful Venetian blinds on the windows, and this dirty great huge radio set and phonograph and everything all in one. And you know, there's beautiful furniture around. Well, this was just an ordinary house to these guys, you know. These guys were just working men. Not to us, mate. It was like a bloody palace, you know, we'd suddenly come across. And yeah, this woman, she was from Oakland. She made this marvellous meal, turkey, cranberry sauce, and remember them, all sorts of stuff. Just another touch of paradise, you know. I used to go in and out of this beautiful club, on the Greyhound buses up and down Broadway, along Fifth Avenue. I bought myself a sailor's cap on Fifth Avenue, you see. I didn't understand anything. You know, it's the Champs-Élysées of New York. You know, nothing sold under $50, you know. And it's where Cartier's and all those places have the jewellers' shops, you know, in the headquarters of the wealthiest, you know, kind of stuff in the world. So I don't know, Gas, are you sure? Hey man, you know, it costs about $40. $40, yeah, that's okay, you know. Guess this cap is a fucking Admiral's cap, you know. And go, I mean, I was assistant steward. Away I went on Fifth Avenue with this cap and this bomber jacket. Oh man. Yeah, I had it made, a pocket full of money, with a leather jacket.